Good day, my name is Hendrik. There is a very precious book in the Bible called Genesis. It is the book about beginnings. The book of Genesis is a foundation for understanding a lot of other Bible books. The book of Genesis shows you where Abraham comes from. The book of Genesis shows you where all the patriarchs come from, the tribes of Israel. Without the book of Genesis, we wouldn't understand how many of the nations in the Bible came to be. We learn of Lot and the nations that came from him, and we learn of Ishmael and all the nations that came from him. A brother in Christ, Henry Morris, did a study of the book of Genesis and of the New Testament, and he saw that in the New Testament there is about 200 references and allusions made to the book of Genesis in the New Testament. Out of the 50 chapters in the book of Genesis, only 7 of those are not quoted in the New Testament. That is only 14%. 25 of these references and allusions are made by Christ himself. And therefore we can come to the conclusion that Genesis is not only a foundation for understanding a lot of doctrine within the Bible, but it's also very apparent in the amount of times it's referred to. We will be talking about a shift in philosophy that came about in the 18th century. This shift had a great effect upon how Bibles are translated and how Bibles are compiled in this time frame. Not only in the New Testament, but also in the Old Testament, new and different manuscripts are being used to create the recent explosion of the amount of new Bible versions we have today. Fortunately, by the hand of God, the book of Genesis has rarely been touched by the new philosophy and methods of translation. God decided to preserve the book of Genesis so that that foundation could be fastened in the minds of Christians today. But as we know, perversion, it is like leaven and it spreads throughout all facets of life. And so the book of Genesis did not remain completely untouched. And we will be focusing on those places where the book of Genesis was touched. I did great effort to collate a lot of verses within the book of Genesis amongst various versions. I found about 60 differences that I would have wanted to discuss in this video, but for the sake of your attention we will only be focusing on 11 today.